to know everything that we put into this day in and day out, try our hardest. Nobody comes in the game wanting or expecting to lose, and for people to react that way when you're supposed to be a supporter and be with us through thick and thin, that's tough.
I think they were aiming at the referees.
Credit to them then.
That's not Tank. That's a Tank. That's a Tank. They weren't doing a Tank.
Oh, well, credit to them.
You know, the only thing worse than a choker is a crier. That was real disappointing from Dak Prescott. Who's better than that? Yeah, I'm going to go there. I don't like that phrase, but I'm going to use it because I know that Dak Prescott is better
than that. Michael Smith.
Is better to encourage fans to respond to their disappointment by throwing objects on the field at the officials. When the truth of the matter is, ironically, it was the talented Dallas Cowboys, the loaded Dallas Cowboys, the overhyped Dallas Cowboys who perform like trash. You know, they have no credibility here. The Cowboys have no credibility. How can the most penalized team in the league this season, how can a team that was penalized 14 times for 89 yards, including 9 on offense, 4 of those penalties gave the 49ers first downs, how can that team have any credibility, or how can that team be trusted to actually execute a play properly? Of course they screwed up the final play, because they're the Cowboys. Like, there's no way in hell anybody in his or her right mind could blame the officials for the Cowboys not executing a play perfectly. And make no mistake, it had to be perfect in order for it to work. Dak Prescott snapped the ball a half second too late because the Cowboys, or the Cow Babies, I should call them right now, to whom it may concern, any of the Dallas Cowboys complaining about the officiating on that last play, I'm calling you the Cow Babies, okay?
All right.
Whoever's crying that play didn't work, it was an awful play call. And it was an awful play call compounded by Dak Prescott sliding too late.
Yeah.
Further compounded by, instead of Dak Prescott, they needed Larry Fitzgerald. Because Larry Fitzgerald would have known to give it to the umpire. Further compounded by Dak Prescott handing it to the center, standing in the way of the umpire, the umpire doing his job. The only person on that play that did his job was the umpire. Everybody else did a piss poor job in Dallas, but the umpire in that situation. So Dallas got what it deserved. The bottom line is Dallas got what it deserved. The only person I'm upset with is me for actually at any point this season believing that the Cowboys will be any more than what they are, which is a bunch of underachievers.
Yeah, I think, it's funny that you say the only person who did his job was the umpire, because I do have a problem with the officiating throughout this game and in a couple of weekend games, but not in that particular moment. I agree with you. In that moment, I have no problem with the officiating. Big picture, we're going to go macro. There's a lot to really nitpick and seriously tear down at the foundation of officiating itself. I mean, I think it was that serious this weekend, and it's been that serious for quite a long time in the NFL. But I don't want to talk about that right now. That's what I want to talk about. Dallas Cowboys, 2 things that you should have known. This is coaching, and this is like players just not taking enough control of what's happening to them. Coaching, you got to know this. The play started, the first play before the slide, the draw started with 14 seconds left on the clock. So that's not enough time. 14 seconds left on the clock. He went into the slide with about 8 or 7 seconds left. We can play it again. You'll see it. Watch the clock on it. 8 or 7 seconds. He gets back up. As you pointed out, he didn't get everybody aligned just right. Give the ball to the umpire first. Cut out the middleman. And then just get a quick snap. All right, here it is. 14 seconds. Look at this. Watch this play. So now, clock's running. You're going to go into the slide around 8, 9, 8, okay, 7. You don't have enough time. It's just not enough time. Everybody can't get set. Umpire's like, get out of the way. I'm trying to do this. It's just, so that was sloppy on their part. But here's the other thing. Mike, you've got CeeDee Lamb. You've got Amari Cooper. You've got Wilson, who's a pretty big playmaker. What are you doing? And the last play of that game, is that your best play? You got to think about this. You got to think, what's going to give us our best chance? And here's the thing. They weren't that far away. I would have just forget about the draw. Give me a shot or two at the end zone. You've got those playmakers. Go do it. Go for the end zone and see what happens. It's really a bad way to lose a game. But with all that being said, Mike, last thing I'll say, San Francisco's better than Dallas. San Francisco,
that's the bottom line.
Just right
and
now,
they were all games.
The way they match up, it's a good matchup. And the NFL playoffs are all about matchups. Sometimes you're better than the other team overall, regardless. Sometimes you just match up really well with the team. I think San Francisco matches up beautifully with Dallas. And I'm not sure, even if they had another second or two or five, that they would have come up with the right play.
Well, look, nobody was shocked by the eventual outcome of this game. A lot of people had San Francisco not only winning over the Cowboys, but going deep into the playoffs. That proverbial dangerous wild card team, okay? So nobody was shocked that a talented 49ers team pulled off the win. But they didn't just pull off the win. For the most part, they dominated Dallas. And that's the hard truth. And listen, man, I am not a Cowboys hater. I'm not one of these talking heads that gets off on the Cowboys being miserable. In fact, people that know my story know that I was a Cowboys fan in the 90s. I grew up rooting for Irving and Aikman and Emmett and Jimmy Johnson. So I love the Cowboys. So quite the contrary. I'm not one of those people that just wakes up enjoying, the schadenfreude of Cowboys Nation's misery. No, but like the truth of the matter is the better team was San Francisco, especially in the trenches. Dallas couldn't block San Francisco. Dallas couldn't run the ball. Dallas couldn't protect Dak Prescott. And Dallas couldn't stop San Francisco from running the ball the way it wanted to. So Dallas just got its ass kicked. And then for Dallas Cowboys fans, so-called fans, to show their ass at the end of the game and get mad at the officials, they were lucky it came down to the last play. It doesn't come down to the last play if Trent Williams lines up properly and there's not a false start when Jimmy Garoppolo converts a quarterback sneak. Like the old adage is, you can't put it in the game, can't put the game in the hands of the officials. They literally put the game in the hands of the umpire, and they got the result they deserved. How a team that led the league in penalties this year and got 14 penalties for 89 yards could complain about the officiating screwing them at the end of the game when they couldn't line up right half the time is beyond me.
Yeah, I mean, and I want to go back to that point. Because this is their big problem. This is Dallas's big problem. The penalties.
They're undisciplined.
So it's almost like people who have problems pointing at each other saying, you're the problem. The officiating is a problem throughout the National Football League. It is. But the Dallas Cowboys in this realm are probably the worst offenders. So the officiating is a problem. You got some bad offenders. And they just keep pointing the finger at each other. Well, hey, you're a problem. Well, yeah, you're undisciplined. But see, if I wouldn't be so undisciplined, if you wouldn't call all those penalties. But, you get a lot of penalties. We call the penalties on a lot of teams, but we call the penalties the most on you guys. It's back and forth. And I really think about it.
They're most penalized for a reason.
Hey, Mike, if you really think about the Cowboys in this non-championship era, they keep falling.
30 years. 27 years.
For the same, they have a lot of these coaches who don't cross T's and dot I's. I mean, really think about it. It's amazing. Now, they won a championship with one of them, Barry Switzer. Barry Switzer he wasn't buttoned up, but they were so good. They won a championship when Barry Switzer was coaching. But Barry Switzer wasn't looking for all the devil in the details. He wasn't. Wade Phillips was not that guy. Mike McCarthy's not that guy. Jason Garrett was not that guy. Like, why do they keep getting these coaches where we always, every year, some version of this conversation happens. Hey, the Cowboys may be the most talented team in the league, or they may have the best offense, but they just get it together. If they would stop making all these silly mistakes, if they could come through in the clutch,
that's what shocked me about
simple.
Jimmy. That's what shocked me about Jerry Jones saying, at least in the moment, coaching change is off the table. Now, Stephen Jones came back and said today on radio that he was confident that Mike McCarthy would be back. And I know, obviously, Dak was hurt last year, and they had a nice season. They had nice numbers. They had pretty stats. They had 2 All-Pros on defense, and they were at the top of the league in defensive DVOA.
Sloppy.
And they were at the top of the league in scoring on offense. But this is who they've been all year, is undisciplined and sloppy, and it came back to bite them. So how Jerry Jones could watch it? Listen, it's not that Kellen Moore did anything to acquit himself yesterday to suggest that, he's the next big thing as a head coach. I know he's a hot interview candidate, but how Jerry Jones could watch both Kellen Moore and Dan Quinn get interview after interview around the league, know that he may lose both his coordinators. And I've never called for anybody's job, and I'm not about to start calling for somebody to be fired. I like Mike McCarthy a lot. Known him for a long time. Known him since he was offensive coordinator in San Francisco, when he got the job in Green Bay, and even before that when he was in New Orleans. I like him as a man. He's been a really good coach, but his flaws speak for themselves, specifically as it relates to game and time management. How Jerry Jones could look at a Cowboys team that's got all these horses, okay, got all this talent, got this great roster, had this great regular season, but led the league in penalties, and on Sunday kept walking backward. The Cowboys kept shooting themselves in the foot. How he could sit there and just dismiss out of hand a coaching change is puzzling. Because otherwise, how you can not have coaching change on the table if you're starving for a championship and you watch your team self-destruct the way it did yesterday?
Okay, but maybe, can I answer that question? Maybe the
Please.
reason he can do that is because if he's going to go for a different type of coach, then maybe that person will not coexist with him. All right.
Well, that's always been the big thing with Jerry Jones. Who can he?
And I'm just being fair about it. Look, okay, the guys he coexisted a little bit with Jimmy. Like, Jimmy's that guy. Jimmy is runs a tight ship, and for whatever reason, they fell out. Okay, that's ancient history as well. Well-traveled ground. Bill Parcells is that guy too. Are you willing to bring in somebody who says this is the way it's got to be? And we can't have this. And I'm going to penalize these guys. I'm going to fine these guys. I'm going to make sure we're disciplined. I'm going to run a tight ship, not just during the game, but off the field too. And we just go, this whole operation is a little too loose. Everybody's a little too loose. Everybody's a little too comfortable. I'm going to tighten the screws here. Is Jerry Jones comfortable with somebody coming into the operation, to the football operation, and doing it that way? I don't know. Because I know neither coordinator is that guy either. Dan Quinn is not that. Yeah, he's from the Pete Carroll school. It's hang loose. It's fun. Hey, let's have some fun. Let's make this competitive. And I'm a player's coach, but it's not. Hey, fellas, we can't do this. We got to be in the bottom 5 in the league, not in the top 5. We got to be in the bottom 5 in the league when it comes to penalties.
They're not the bad cop.
Because we're crushing.
They're not the bad
crushing ourselves.
If anything, if you want to blame it, if you want to look at Jerry Jones, blame the configuration of AT&T Stadium. Whether it's a punt hitting your scoreboard or the sunlight blinding your players. I mean, this was such a perfect storm of the Cowboys cowboying, for lack of a better phrase. I mean, and for anybody to focus on that last possession and that last play.
This is great stuff.
And think that did anything other than prolong the inevitable. The Cowboys were in desperation mode because they put themselves there. It's really that simple.
I like the couple.
So now when it comes to evaluating the offseason, if you're Dallas, I don't know that you can afford, again, 12-5, good first full season. Last year it's tough to count against Mike McCarthy given the quarterback situation. I don't know how if you're Jerry Jones, and let's face it, your biological clock is ticking. It's just facts. You've gone 30 years since being in the NFC Championship game. Forget a Super Bowl. It's been 27 years since they've been in an NFC Championship game. So if you're Jerry Jones, I don't know how anything could be off the table as championship starved as this franchise is. You go ahead and get the last word, man, and we could put a button in this for now, put a pin in it for now.
Well, I want to say two or three quick things. One, I was just pointing back. You bring that last one up with those pictures of the Cowboys fans suffering. I like the couple up top, just kind of going through it. And Tony Romo made this case up top. There you go. Come on. I'm sorry. It didn't like this for you. But Tony Romo made the point during the broadcast that people were crying with like 4 minutes to go. They're like, here we go. There it is. Like 4:02. What you doing? What you crying for? Why are you crying? You got plenty of time.
Because they've seen this movie
one
before.
Possession. You can even miss the extra point. Miss the extra point. You going overtime? You can win it with extra point. That's one. Here's the other thing with the Cowboys. We've talked this long about this game and have not mentioned the San Francisco 49ers enough. Can I just tell you, I made this point to you.
San Francisco deserved to win. Dallas didn't. It's that simple.
Hey, thanks for watching Brother from Another on YouTube. Make sure you hit subscribe before you leave, and be sure to watch us 3 to 5 p.m. Eastern Time on Peacock. Appreciate you.